Sign up to the SBR Network and use your free daily bet points to earn real-world prizes. Click on the page and start winning now. Hi, welcome to SBR Forum Videos. I'm Peter Loshak. We are talking right now with Jordan Sharp, previewing the futures odds for the 2014 NBA playoffs. We just got finished discussing the futures odds to win the East and the West, and now we're going to discuss the futures odds to win it all. Jordan, thanks for being back with us.
Pete, thanks for having me. I think we all know the number one question looming in NBA future odds bettors' minds, and that is, can Miami do it? So what do you think first? I'm going to start off with you answering the question.
Well, I'll tell you my first thought, right? My first thought is there's two things that you analyze here, right? You analyze the stats, you analyze their performance, their team, play, and their ATS results, and then you analyze, how these games might be reffed. I mean, is Miami going to get a boost from, is Miami, are the refs going to be favoring them in the calls? Because I could certainly see that being the case, and if that is the case, then that changes things from a handicapping perspective. I mean, what's your take on the people who are concerned about something like that?
I mean, it is a concern. It's also with you, because I know you're my number one favorite conspiracy theorist with the NBA.
Oh yeah.
Is that it could be, maybe advantageous for the Heat to lose this year for league ratings. You never know. I mean, the NBA could see that that the tide is turning, and maybe they would benefit more from the Heat not three-peating and someone else being known as the team that knocked off Miami. So You never know. If Adam Silver, new commissioner, feels like he wants to make a bold statement, he could put the fix in. You never know. But no, I'm just kidding. But
yeah,
Miami, you said it absolutely. I think we talked about it in the Eastern Conference call. They're as vulnerable as they've ever been this year. So if there was ever a year to fade the Miami Heat in the future odds, I mean, it might be this year. You never know. I don't think the field, especially in the East, is as strong. But the chances of them getting to a finals matchup against a really tough Western Conference team like the Thunder, Clippers, or Spurs, you could see legitimately people fading the Heat for success this year.
All right. Well, they are the favorite to win the title. Right now at 5 dimes, they're plus 230 to win it all. Second choice is the Spurs at plus 325. Then you have OKC at plus 470. Then the Indiana Pacers at just 6-1 to win the NBA title. That's got to be a severely overvalued line there. Then the Clippers 10.5-1 to win it all. Then a bunch of team Houston 25-1, Brooklyn 36-1. You got like the Golden State and Portland at 51-1, Chicago 56-1. So I guess we're going to throw out what? You want to throw out Miami and throw out Indiana here?
I think we definitely throw out Indiana. But I think you have to look at the NBA future odds a little bit differently than say the NFL handicapping Super Bowl future odds, because you're not going to find that wild card team, that 8th to 7th seed, that's going to really power their way through to the NBA Finals and have a chance at winning. There's not as much parity in the NBA. So of those top 5 or 6 teams that legitimately have a shot to win the title, I think you definitely have to throw out the Pacers at 6-1. But I'm not quite ready to throw out the Miami Heat yet. They're at plus 230, and that's a lot of value considering this time last year they were still I think even money, or maybe even laying just a little bit of money going into the NBA championship and their odds to win the NBA title. They were definitely less than 2-1. I think they might have been right around even money or something like that at this time last year. So if there's a lot of value still on them if you're on the Miami Heat. But personally, I just don't think, like we said in the Eastern Conference call, this is the time to fade the Miami Heat if that's where you're at. They're as vulnerable as they've ever been right now. And at plus 230, there's still not an immense amount of value. And against one of those potential Western, even if they do make it to the finals, against one of those Western Conference opponents, it could be very difficult for them to match up against like the Spurs, the Thunder, or the Clippers, depending on. So I'm not quite ready to throw them out of the discussion, but I don't think I don't think they are as valuable as they could be, I think, in this sort of situation.
Well, we kind of agreed that we're eyeing the Clippers a little bit for value, possibly to win the Western Conference at plus 520. They're 10.5-1 to win the title. Do you think that also has some value?
Yeah, definitely. I think you have to look at them as some value. They have a title winning coach now in Doc Rivers, which I think was one of their biggest issues last year in a playoff scenario. The team, they were just getting out-coached, and with the amount of improvement they've made from their front line this year with those guys, DeAndre Jordan and Blake Griffin, I mean, Doc Rivers had just made them into stars. And Chris Paul, of course, throwing them the ball also helps out a little bit. But the Clippers have the best pedigree and the amount of stars and depth needed to get out of the Western Conference and upset maybe an Oklahoma City or a San Antonio, which they would probably have to beat both of those teams to get out of the West. So even though it would be difficult, 10.5 to 1 is a little bit undervaluing the Los Angeles Clippers to win the title here. It's going to be tough, and I think there are a little bit of other values I think in the NBA future odds here for the West. But the Clippers, I think for sure you have to look at them as a value. Probably maybe even the number one value to win the NBA title, just at above 10 to 1.
All right, and then the Spurs at plus 325 and OKC at plus 470. You think those odds are about right on?
Yeah, I definitely think the Thunder, you might have to throw them out too. At plus 470 just is a little bit, I think, overvaluing them. But like I said, they could just turn on and get hot at any time and have a run like they did a couple years ago. But the Spurs, like they're the reason I'm just a little bit hesitant on the Clippers, because I still think at plus 325 they have a little bit of value to win the NBA title this year, just because I think they are good. We talk about every time you and I talk almost about the Spurs, how they're just routinely undervalued by the sports books. Nothing's changed right now, Pete. I think we're still seeing that they're slightly undervalued in the NBA future odds. I think they're appropriately priced in the Western Conference future odds like we talked about. But for the NBA future odds at plus 325, still could have a little bit of value, and they could be that one team that upsets the Clippers. I'm projecting a Clippers-Spurs Western Conference Finals. So I think that's a very even matchup, but one of those teams is going to come out of, I think, the West. I'm putting my money on one of those teams. If you made me choose between which one has the best NBA future odds value, I'd still probably say the Clippers at plus 10.5 or 10.5 to 1. Excuse me.
All right, Jordan. Thanks so much for all your thoughts on this.